I just wanted to make a quick video, put some of my thoughts down. You know, people need to understand that really what's governing their lives is a system of commerce. And it's a private system of commerce, and it's an attempt to monopolize commerce, which ultimately equates to currency, which is life. But people don't understand that this is like a cultural brainwashing lock. It's a way of locking a culture into a way of being, which is to be a serf, a slave, and to not even recognize that they're just a hamster on a wheel, and they'll never get anywhere. Not really, because their foundation is completely under the control of someone else. But you know, people need to stop and think for a second about why is it everybody's paying to live? Why is it that most people right now in America and around the world are paying or working their ass off to pay for things they already have a God-given right to? And why is it as soon as you try and invoke your God-given rights, I mean, you think about it, these are privatized systems, courts, these are the money changers, really. These are the banks, these are private governments, or just governing bodies, which is just groups of people saying you don't have a right to freely associate, or you don't have a right to access land and build a shelter without engaging in contract with us. That is a lien on an unalienable right. These are acts of war, and they're acts of war because they're doing it at the barrel of a gun. People are really locked down. I mean, we're in such a state of lockdown, cultural lockdown, that, I mean, it's breaking up, and it's going to completely fall apart. But right now, there's many people who are still in such a state of lockdown that we actually have the slaves policing the slaves. But people, ask yourself, what is the Federal Reserve Note? What is it, and why do I have to seek the Federal Reserve Note in order to live? How is it you can be homeless in your own country? It is to say it is not your country. And who is it that's saying it's not your country? Who are these bankers? What is the Federal Reserve? What is the Federal Reserve Note? And why are they saying that you don't own anything? They say you don't own yourself. They say you don't own your life force. And they say that you don't have a right to a place in this world. Let me tell you something. You are part of this world, therefore you have a right to a part of this world. Privatized systems of groups, privatized systems of association, contracts, and commerce. These are just private groups, but because they become so damn monopolistic, and so prolific, I mean, they're just everywhere. Everybody's engaged in it, and everybody's completely ignorant. I mean, we people are extremely ignorant right now. And or I should say, well, yeah. But what was I saying? That people can't even fathom. They don't even understand that it's like, no, I just choose, your culture is extremely toxic to me. It's extremely poisonous to me. My pursuit of happiness is to pursue life without paper. My pursuit of happiness is to pursue life without somebody between me and God and my God-given rights. That's all they want to do, is get between me and what I have a God-given right to. They trick you to create a person, which is a financial instrument, and then they trick you to sign it away instantly. There's a ton of value there. Okay, that's a con. They're conning you from fucking the start, man. And then they get you to get representatives who don't represent you, but you actually are so brainwashed you actually think they represent you. Write them, man. They will not. They don't represent you. Okay, it's a con. Fire them. Represent yourself. Take your voice back. Inhale. Stop exhaling all your life. Take your life back. Because that's what they're doing. They're stealing your life, the force of life, and everything you have a right to, all through contract fraud and then through manipulation. It's very evil, but evil is not soul. It is not life. It is not knowledge. It is simply a series of calculating numbers. It is a human being who has lost their soul, and they are nothing but a calculating machine. And that's how it becomes so diabolic. There's no essence to it. It is simply a calculation to solve the algorithmic problem. These people are broken and can only be fixed through really us removing all of our support. Stop giving your life to them, because you are corrupting them by giving them the energy that is rightfully yours and meant to be yours, and you're supposed to have it, and you're just saying here. And what do? You blow their fuse. You corrupt them, and everybody's doing it, and it's built into the culture. So it's a cultural lock of corruption. Let's keep us just in this constant state of perpetual corruption, which is perpetual. It just gets worse and worse and worse until it just finally implodes from within. It's just like it's a black hole. But why are you paying to live? Why must you have the Federal Reserve note to live? What the fuck is that about? I know why. I know the answers to these things, but you have to start asking these really basic questions that are staring you right in the fucking face. Why is there so many things that your life is built upon and that are gray areas? Why don't you understand government? Why don't you understand your financial system? Why don't you understand currencies? Do you know what a fiat is? If you don't know these things, you are ignorant. It's really sad, because most people are spending all their life right now. I mean, they are just slaving away to pay for things they already have a God-given right to. People need to recognize what's happening. Here's another question, people. How do you think consensual government works? People go, I don't think we have consensual government. What do you mean you don't? Well, that's stupid. Consensual government is it's always been consensual government. But when you get to such a state of barbarianism like we are now, it's like, well, we don't have it because they'll just beat us to death and throw us in a cage. Yeah, that's called an act of war. That's called slavery. It's time to stand up. Draw the line. But how do you think it works? In your mind, how do you think it works? I know exactly how it's supposed to work. You need to understand, this is America. If you don't like God-given rights, true freedom, not subject to legal constraint of another, we're all bound by the law. If you don't know the difference between legal and lawful, you have no foundation. You are ignorant. But if you don't understand how consensual government works, and if consensual government doesn't even, people basically, their argument nowadays is, well, withdraw your consent and invoke your sovereignty. This is a God-given right. Anybody who says otherwise is not really engaged in an act of war against you. It's really they're at war with God, because that's who God gave you this right, and they don't like it. They're saying, no, you don't have that right. You must be my servant. You must be my slave. You're here for me. And you're saying, no, I'm not. Fuck off. And it's not you they're really at war with. It's with God. Because it was God who created the world, who gave us the design and gave us these rights. And so that's who they're at war with. Let them war with God. Let's just take back our life. Because that's what they're taking. They're taking your life. It's called give me liberty or give me death. That's what it's called. Just do it. And if this were to be done, the more people who do this, the less power they have. Because the only power they have is the power you give them. That's it, people. It's interesting to see these cops who are so violent, because it is the weakest of the energies that become the most violent. They break themselves down to the point of just, the only way they can deal is like a wild animal. They just lash out at everything. They're in such a weakened, panicked, limited state. But at the same time being pumped full of energy and power. This is extremely ignorant. People are extremely ignorant of how the world works and how energy and currency and life works. So disconnected, completely detached. But the good news, it's all fixable. All of it. All we have to do is start applying the design. And recognizing the design, and really just what's screaming in your hearts to do. It's insane, paying to live. And people wonder why I don't want to pay to live, and then they don't analyze the very building blocks of their life. They don't question their foundation. They don't look in the mirror. You will never move forward until you move past yourself. You will never move forward until you move past yourself. You do not have to pay to live. You have a God-given right. You are part of this world. You have a right to a part of this world. It does not matter what privatized systems of groups, what privatized groups engaged in commerce, association, and exchange claim. You just counterclaim. You say, no, they're basically saying they are God. It's pretty easy to prove they're not God. The only power they have is men with guns, coercion, manipulation, and throw you in. It's called an act of war, or just, really, it's just barbarianism. It's just, it's crazy. Mafia. A very mafia-like government we have, but it's, at the end of the day, it's just a barbaric animal. It's just the flesh, the beast, the animal. It's how animals control animals. There's no, as soon as you break down to physicality, you start acting like an animal. You're no longer a being. You're no longer, you have become an animal at that stage. You no longer engaged in association because you're incapable of associating on those terms or dealing with your own fucking issues till you just get so angry you just start beating things up. You're throwing a temper tantrum like a baby would, a child, an extremely limited being. It means you are being controlled by the flesh. The flesh has taken you. It has the best of you. It is at that point controlling you. You're acting like the animal, which is the body, the flesh, not the spirit, not the animating force that you really are and meant to be. But that's in such a weakened state because that's what this system does. It is just, it's, oh my God. People watching like these financial shows, and everybody, all this, you want freedom, you want people to start you want to see prosperity. Just take the hand of oppression and remove it. That's all you got to do, and freedom will prosper. This is a big dark hand over a garden. When if you have a garden right now, take something dark and put it over it. Watch all your plants wither and get sick and die. Okay? You want your garden to flourish? Remove this big dark hand of oppression that is in your life. It's obvious. It's so obvious. It's so simple. Everybody's caught up in the nonsense. I'm hacking away at the fucking root, and everybody's up in the tree wondering why, the tree's shaking and leaves are fucking falling off left and right. But as these leaves fall off, people are starting to say, oh, wow, look, we're in a fucking tree. And I'm saying, yeah, motherfuckers, I'm chopping this down. We're getting ready to set it on fire. Get the fuck out of the tree. You people are having stupid arguments. Stupid arguments. It's fluff. It's nonsense. It's a waste of fucking time. Jump out of the fucking tree and start hacking at the root. This motherfucker needs to go down. It is diabolic and it is hurting people. It is hurting the world. But on the upside, it's game over. It's complete. It's done. The method has been revealed. The world is awake. The political awakening has happened. Politics are sorcery. Sorcery is the method upon which you have been controlled. So, now that this has been revealed, there is no stopping it. There is no way to control it. There is nothing they can do. The only thing we can do now is continue in our course, which is universal. It's becoming universally locked. It's an impossible way to stop it. There is no it's an impossible. There's no way to stop it. it was, we're moving back into the time where instead of 3 cards from the deck, we got all 52. We got a full spectrum of capability and possibility, and that's where we're moving. That's the beauty of what's happening. But as we do this, limiting this fall, because ultimately what's happened is this false foundation has been built up and snuck under our lives, and removing us from God, removing us from reality, removing us from what we were meant to have. It's this fake garden. It's this elevated garden. They're trying to take it and take this garden away, where we belong in the earth, and they're trying to create a fake garden and slowly move us away. But as this garden, as it's been, is finally breaking down, and we're starting to access the true foundation again. Some people, the only thing we can do is try and limit the damage from the fall and from the breakdown, because some people who are entire life, they're so elevated and so dependent upon that structure that as it snaps and breaks, those of us who have already found our foundation are going to be fine. But they're going to have such a fall that they're going to break and be of an extremely difficult to repair, if even unrepairable state of being, because their fall will have been so great. If that makes sense to anybody. Another way to look at it is like a road. When we pave a road, this is some kind of dark evil that came along and just paved over us, right? To pave this heavy, thick road. But now, time has passed, and the road's starting to get cracks. And those cracks, some of this, and as the road laid there and cooked in the heat, and seeds, God's children, fell on this road. They sat there and they weren't able to take root, and they weren't able to get nourishment, and they just cooked and baked in the sun. But over time, through the weathering and through the natural motion of the world, this road is starting to crack, and seeds are starting to fall through the cracks, and those seeds are accessing reality, or accessing the real world, God, the real force of life, and they're starting to sprout, and they're breaking through. And as they break through these cracks, they're creating more cracks, and the whole thing is just all in slow motion. You have to be able to see very, very far down the road to truly see how this whole thing works. But that's why I say I can tell, I understand the world in such a way that this, in my opinion, it is a full deck. We could go. Well, when you understand the nature of evil, evil doesn't ever win. It can't win. It's an impossible. But this whole thing, it's this takeoff, that this acceleration of truth happens because as we fell through this, as we broke through, dug through, some of us dug through, broke through, hammered through, whatever, this false foundation to get to reality. Once enough of us got there and finally figured it out, looked around, got our bearing, we were no longer of the turbulent sea, but we found our shore, our foundation, our truth, and we were able to stabilize ourselves and actually figure this thing out. Now we've been able to gather enough that now we're boosting, we're able to take off. We're able to catapult ourselves from the reality. And that's happening on a global scale. It's beautiful. It's just slow, and it's going to be painful because we've been in a very limited state of being, an extremely limited state of being. Wow, 20 minutes. All right, I just wanted to, put some thoughts down. God bless.